Right.
No. You rise to the occasion. Experience comes with age, and I've been hearing a lot about age, you know.
We are now, and I finally get to check that off my list, and I knew this was going to be a big fight. The build up for this is huge. The press conferences are entertaining. It's a spectacle.
With only 17 days left before the Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul fight, the pressure keeps building as both fighters push their limits. Training is now at its highest level, with Joshua sharpening his power timing and footwork, while Jake pushes through hard conditioning to keep pace. Every session counts at this point, and the feeling around the fight gets heavier as the countdown moves forward.
I have nothing but love for him, but I'm going to knock him out respectfully, and you know, we can hug and kiss afterwards. Specifically kiss.
Anthony Joshua's training camp for his fight with Jake Paul is already in full action, and this time it is a big change for him as he shifted to a new camp. Joshua has not fought since his knockout loss in September 2024 and the elbow surgery that followed, so this camp feels even more urgent. He is doing conditioning technique drills, footwork, and ring work with Usyk's coaches, aiming to enter the fight sharper and smarter. Joshua says the change is major. Working under a new camp has pushed him harder than before, both physically and mentally. He is using this time to rebuild his confidence, sharpen his strengths, and prepare for what could be a high-stakes return. Each morning, Anthony Joshua starts with tough ice baths to power his body and support recovery during camp. The freezing water helps reduce swelling, keeps his muscles ready, and strengthens his mental focus. Joshua believes these cold sessions clear his mind and prepare him for heavy training later in the day. It is a strict routine that shows his dedication to staying strong and fully ready for the upcoming fight. Anthony Joshua throws himself into a training setup built on discipline, precision, and steady improvement. Surrounded by skilled coaches who focus on sharp technique and strategic awareness, he approaches each session with purpose. His drills aim to tighten his offensive bursts while building a defense that reacts instantly. Coaches watch his rhythm, foot placement, and punch changes and push him to move past old habits. People watching from ringside can see how seriously he takes every adjustment. Instead of depending only on natural power, he works to improve his understanding of angles, distance, and counters. His movement becomes more controlled as he shifts between defensive slips and sharp counter-punch combos. The environment in this camp forces him to grow not only in strength, but in mindset, sharpening his instincts for the sudden moments that shape heavyweight boxing. Eddie Hearn looks at this matchup with a serious mindset, knowing how much depends on Joshua's performance. He understands that this fight brings consequences far beyond simple bragging rights. For Joshua, the outcome could shape the direction of the later part of his career. Hearn is honest about it. A loss in a fight like this would raise real questions about whether continuing is worth it. Even with this pressure, Hearn's faith in Joshua stays strong. He believes the work Joshua has put in over the past months has rebuilt his discipline and sharpened his focus. From conditioning to sparring, Joshua has treated every part of training as if a world title is on the line. Hearn says this attitude is what convinces him Joshua will step up when it matters. Reports from inside camp support this, showing a fighter training with calm energy and new determination. Even with pressure around him, Joshua keeps moving forward, fully accepting the challenge instead of running from it.
Simon, I think he's at that stage of his career where he's trying to rediscover a little bit of that confidence. He's gone to Alexander Usyk, where we're hearing reports he's out there training with Usyk and the team, trying to pick up something, trying to rediscover something.
That's very strange, Paul, isn't it?
It is, but it's not unheard of. I've heard of a lot of fighters doing that. You see fighters, obviously, it's the old Rocky movies years ago, but you see a fighter losing to someone, all of a sudden they go into camp and they start training and do a little bits together and become friends or whatever else. I think it'll do Joshua no harm travelling, but as you say, he's a little bit long in the tooth and he's a bit on the back nine rather than the front nine, where that experience would really come into play. But I'm just looking at his record here. He obviously after the Usyk fight, he'd come back and he had 3 fights, and then the Ngannou demolition.
Well, yeah,
job.
Jermaine Franklin, he had Robert Helenius, he had Otto Wallin, and he smashed Ngannou, which everyone went hallelujah for, right?
Yeah, but he's obviously not in like the box rec rankings to see where he is. But the Dubois fight is a fight where what you've just said then, Spencer, like match him right. I felt he was matched right with Dubois. That's just my opinion.
Just
obviously I was wrong on that, and I was proved wrong. But I felt like Joshua would have and should have came through that, but he obviously didn't. So therefore, it's back to the drawing board. And where do you go from there? What do you do from there? Does he keep the same team around him? Does he go and find someone new and try and adapt and add to his repertoire already? And this move at Usyk, I don't know what it'll be, but if he's fighting before Christmas, then he needs to get in shape quick, because there's only 8 weeks to go, let's say.
Well, my understanding, he's in camp, he's in shape, and just looking to getting out and get back to winning ways is my understanding. That's why they're talking about 8 rounders.
Yeah.
He wants to sort of go under the radar a little bit, and it's difficult for someone like Anthony Joshua because he's such
Very
a
much so.
commercial commodity.
He's always been in shape all the time, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He always will be in shape. He's never, ever not been.
But it's not about his
dedicated.
physical shape, is it? No one's ever questioned his physical state. Zach, when I was talking about Anthony Joshua, and I know that the president of his fan club is here in Spencer, but I talked about the PTSD issue post various fights, whether it be the Alexander Usyk or the Daniel Dubois situation. But prior to Daniel Dubois, I always maintained that I felt that despite the performance against Jermaine Franklin, despite the performance against Robert Helenius, which had been blasted out by Deontay Wilder.
Part of Joshua's strong confidence comes from the high level of sparring partners he has brought into camp. Footage shows him exchanging punches with top heavyweights who each bring different challenges. Jared Anderson, known for his raw power and non-stop pace, keeps Joshua sharp on defense. Anderson tests every reaction and punishes slow moves, forcing Joshua to stay focused from the first bell to the last second of each round. Frank Sanchez presents a different kind of challenge with his technical style. His smooth movement around the ring, ability to slip punches, and balance push Joshua to adjust constantly. These sparring sessions are more than just physical drills. They put Joshua in situations similar to elite competition. Each partner brings pressure that Jake Paul has never experienced. The variety of styles helps Joshua build a complete approach focused on timing, precision, and the ability to change tactics instantly.
Saying that you and AJ must retire if Jake Paul wins on December 19th. Stand by that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, oh, I suppose so. Shit, yeah. Look, I don't see a world where Jake Paul wins this fight. I know that boxing's boxing. I mean, what is it? Roy Jones came out this morning and said Jake Paul can win this fight.
Teddy Atlas as well.
Teddy Atlas. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, now I'm a bit worried. I won't retire. AJ should retire if he loses. No.
Sorry.
No, I see AJ winning this fight with ease, comprehensively, destructively, violently, and I don't see a world where Jake Paul is competitive in the fight, let alone win the fight. But luckily, AJ's not preparing in a way that he just thinks it's a joke. He's preparing for Jake Paul like he's a world title contender. Yes, it's been a little bit of a shorter camp. Yes, we've got to make weight this time around, but it doesn't matter. We should just slide through this guy and bash him up and beat him up, and we should do it early doors.
Just lastly, you said as well that you told Nikisa that he was weighing 290 when you were negotiating. What impact did that have? Did you feel like they would have gone even lower if they knew he was weighing 265?
No, I mean, I don't think that when you're negotiating on a weight, there's not one promoter in the world that would tell the truth about what the weight of the fighter was, and Nikisa knows that anyway. So it wasn't like we were being clever, but they wanted him to come to 240. And it's just, don't forget, AJ's never made weight before. So all of a sudden, he's tried. He'd been in camp for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, and he's probably sitting at, I don't know, 260, 265, and it's like you got to make 245.
Tony Jeff views Jake Paul's journey as someone who has watched him steadily grow over the years. He notes that Jake started with limited skill, but gradually took on the dedication needed to become capable in the ring. Jeff points out the improvement in Jake's basics, especially his punch technique, distance control, and training discipline. He gives credit to Jake for learning from experienced coaches and pushing himself farther than many expected from a beginner. According to Jeff, anyone saying Jake hasn't changed simply hasn't seen how much he has progressed.
Jake Paul is being dwarfed by these way bigger heavyweights like Jared Anderson, Frank Sanchez, and Lawrence Okolie. Okolie is like 6'4.5", 6'5", and these guys are like 6'3", 6'4", probably. So now Jake Paul is the one that's smaller. So first of all, I will give credit to Jake Paul. clearly he's a person who is taking his career seriously. These are quality sparring. I mean, a real boxer, because people say he's not a real boxer, but a real boxer would be using the same guys in their sparring camp. In fact, I just told you Joshua used Lawrence Okoli. I don't know if he sparred with Anderson or Frank Sanchez, but these are all regular ranked heavyweights. So credit to Jake Paul for that. And I mean, he's going to need it. Joshua is a different breed to, like, you know, a Mike Perry when it comes to boxing. Different frame, different size. In case you didn't believe me, right? Jake Paul, this is what MVP Promotions posted. So Jake Paul top sparring, right? Heavyweights. And here's some pictures of Joshua with Lawrence Okoli. And again, Joshua, a big dude, but you see Lawrence Okoli, and he probably was cruiserweight back then. I mean, I don't know exactly when this picture was taken, but he's only like an inch shorter than Anthony Joshua. And now, as he's moved up to the full heavyweight, he has filled out more. You see, he looks even bigger than when he was a cruiserweight. Now, I gotta research it, but I want to say I thought Lawrence Okoli.
Professional fighter Lamont Roach sees Jake's choice as bold but very risky. From a competitive view, he understands why Jake would take it. Jake has built his name by surprising people and proving critics wrong. Roach points out that financially the fight is huge, giving Jake a chance few fighters get this early in their careers. He also notes the psychological side. Jake thrives on shock value, and facing someone as powerful as Joshua fits that story. Still, Roach emphasizes that courage must come with caution. Joshua has real heavyweight power, which demands more than just confidence. Roach respects Jake's drive, but warns this move comes with risks that cannot be ignored no matter how big the payday is.
They get older. Now, a problem for Anthony Joshua is his activity. He's only fought twice in 2 years, and one of them, he got knocked out off Daniel Dubois. That was his last fight, and a lot of people say you can only judge a fighter's quality from their last fight. And then the fight before that was a win, but it was a win against Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, if you know, he was the UFC heavyweight who's not a real boxer, and he only had one fight before that boxing fight, what he lost as well. So that's his activity in boxing. Now, Jake Paul, on the other hand, looking at his box rec, he's had 6 fights since 2023. And one of them was against Mike Tyson. But we all seen what happened in that fight. Mike Tyson was well past his prime. Where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, but I'm not going to say he's coming into his prime, because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched, and I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. They'll come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200-pound versus 252-pound. We got a 252-pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights, and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua, because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. Anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that on there? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through?
Chael Sonnen looks at the situation with straightforward honesty, asking if Jake is showing real courage or taking on something beyond reason. Sonnen respects Jake's willingness to face tough opponents, but questions why he chose someone with Joshua's size and knockout power. He notes that bravery can turn harmful when preparation falls short. Taking risks is admirable, but taking risks without full understanding is dangerous, especially in a sport where a single moment can change everything.
Excuse me. My first thoughts was, this guy's crazy. Not gonna lie. But I get it. Coming from a guy who's not a true traditional boxer, and to be able to have a position where he can fight a former unified world champion, former Olympic gold medalist, and to do it on such a stage where Anthony Joshua was a superstar as well. I mean, like, he sold out the O2, you know, twice.
Absolutely.
I think. So, you know, I think Jake is setting himself up for, you know, a huge spectacle, in which is, you know, kind of smart. If you're going to go big, why not go to the highest, like the highest of the mountain? Why not? And I get it. That's what you call business right there. And I seen a lot of guys calling them out, from like Gabe to, you know, other guys who are boxers. Yeah, like guys who actually beat him. But why would he settle for those guys when he could fight Anthony Joshua? So I think that's, you know, I think that's smart. I think that's super smart.
Smart is one thing. What do you think happens in the ring, though, champ?
I think he gets hurt for sure. I think he gets obliterated. Something close to like Francis Ngannou. I think something like that happens, and it's going to be bad for him. But there will be a lot.
Angelo and Josh steer the talk back to boxing basics. They stress that the sport has levels shaped by years of competition, discipline, and facing top opponents. In their view, Jake Paul is still developing, while fighters like Joshua and Deontay Wilder exist in a league defined by knockout power, refined skill, and years at the highest level. They say Joshua belongs to a group of athletes whose very presence can change a fight. With perfect timing and explosive strength, they can end a match in an instant, even if the other fighter seems to be in control.
The Francis Ngannou performance. What if Jake makes it 5 rounds, 6 rounds? What if Jake made it to the distance? What if Jake won a round? Now, it's very hard to believe. It's very hard to imagine. I think it's the big struggle with this fight. I cannot, off the top of my head, produce a fight for you in any form of unarmed combat that drew, that was exciting, where the audience did not have a reasonable expectation, an expectation to some degree that, well, if he does this or that, there is a way for this guy to win. And that's usually pretty easy to do because nobody knows anything about fighting. Nobody watching this right now, none of you, my millions of viewers, not one of you has ever boxed. Not one of you knows someone in the family. Well, my dad was a boxer, my uncle was a boxer. No, you don't. Not only are you not a boxer, you don't even know of a boxer. Now, I only share that because when I come out and say nobody knows what they're talking about when they're talking about boxing, like, it's not meant to be an insult. You don't know anything about boxing. It was never taught to you. None of you in recess boxed. None of your junior highs, your high schools, your colleges, your community colleges offered boxing. Your hometown didn't have a boxing gym. Now really think about that. Because as much as you love the sport and as much as you think that you understand it, not only do you not understand it, you can't even have a conversation with other people who do because they don't understand it. So what is a win? I think that time counts. I think that time is a very big deal. You're in that little bitty ring. I know a guy can run backwards, but running backwards is not illegal in boxing. It is in wrestling.
That's a wrap for today's video. Stay tuned for more.